let me talk about what is it. From the name, you can guess a little bit. Implicit object, but JSP, only JSP can use it. Okay, servlets cannot use it. Servlet, this concept is not available in the servlet environment. All right, so we only use inside JSP. What's that? Why using JSP implicit objects? One sentence for convenience, for efficiency, for productivity. If we use it, we can write less code. We can do more things with less code, okay? In a faster way. Yeah, some very, useful feature. Yeah. Provide convenience for JSP programmers. How? In which way? Yeah, direct way. All right, the fastest way. Yeah. Let me show you the first example of this from our Duke example. In the Duke code, we use it. Yeah. So you can see in Duke example, we can learn a lot of things. Yeah. Another concept we can learn here. I'll put the name of the user in response.jsp. That file will only have one line, remember, only one single line in response.jsp, but so many things we can learn here. Another concept there. Look at this one. We are familiar with this line, but in the last time, our main focus is at the JSP expressions, right? At that part, okay? Yeah. And this time, our main focus is at this request. Look at this request word, all right? What's that? What's that request? If you look at the whole file, there is no place we create it, right? We have no chance to create it before we use it. Why it is available, we can use it, all right? Yeah, now you see the answer because it is one of the implicit objects. Implicit, it is created implicitly, you cannot see it. The container, JSP container, does it for us automatically. We just grab it and use it directly. That's the reason for convenience. Okay? We just use it. We don't need to worry about how to create it. All right? How to create it. Okay? Yeah. So it's there. Yeah. And from its name, request, it should be related to the request object, right? Yeah. We have learned a request object, Java request object. That's the one here, okay? This is the reference, points to that particular request object. Yeah, let me recall a little bit. HTTP servlet request. The full name of that object type, that's the HTTP servlet request, that object. Here, don't worry, we are working inside a JSP. Don't ask me why we use a servlet class, right? HTTP servlet request, why we use a servlet object. If you know, our JSP is essentially a servlet, right? It will be translated into a servlet. So the underlying structure of a JSP, it is a servlet. So in that way, if you have that background, you should not ask that question because that's, same technology, essentially the same technology, right? Just the interface is different, okay? The interface that is exposed to our programmers, that's different, right? Underlying, the foundation, the same. All right, so that's the first thing. Yeah. Request. After you learn it, later you just use it. in your JSP, if you need it, you just use it in this way, okay? But the spelling must be correct, okay? You cannot use a different spelling, all right? Yeah, because in our servlet, usually when we use this HTTP servlet request, sometimes some programmers, they use the short way reference, REQ, for the request. Yeah, but that is inside your servlet environment. So you have freedom to choose your own reference. But here, it's not inside your, servlet environment. The environment here is JSP container. Okay, that's the environment. All right, and a JSP container creates HTTP servlet request object, and it needs to use a fixed name for it. That is the lowercase request. Exact that name, that reference. Nobody can change that. All right, you have to use the same name to refer to that object. Okay, yeah. All right, so that's this concept. Usage. Yeah. All right, so how? So the server creates them automatically. Them, yeah, here I only give you one request, but here I use them because you will see there are several implicit objects, not just one. This is the first one. This is the most commonly used implicit object. Yeah. But you will see a few more implicit objects. Yeah. Programmers use them directly, but you need to be aware of them. All right, there are several you can use. Okay? Yeah. All right. Frequently used implicit objects. Yeah. These four frequently used. First one, request. Second one, response. Yeah. When we need to do something related to the response, we just use response object directly. Okay, implicit object directly. All right. And you know that implicit object should correspond to HTTP servlet response. Yeah. Here, I do not write that full name. Yeah. HTTP servlet response. Yeah. That one. Yeah. Session. Yeah. This is another big implicit object, session. And this implicit object is related to a special technology, very useful technology called session management. Later, we will learn this technology. Yeah, session management technology. The data we can store into HTTP sessions. HTTP sessions. Then the data stored there can stay longer. Okay, the whole session. So what is the whole session? Yeah, you define a session. All right. Yeah, session stay longer. Yeah. And this corresponds to the object called HTTP session. All right. Yeah. Here I just give you the name. Yeah. Later, we will learn how to. When we go to the session management part, we will. You will see examples. All right. And the page context. Yeah. So page. Yeah. So here the page refer to JSP page, the current JSP page. Page context. Here, context. For the current page, a lot of information is stored in the page context. It's a data structure. Let's call, so this page content, it's a data structure. Okay. Okay. Page context data structure. It can store a lot of data in that page context. Okay. Yeah. So Yeah, later we will learn the details of this. That's the frequently used implicit object, but remaining other implicit object. Let's look at, we have a few more less frequently used. Out, there is an out implicit object. OUT, out, yeah. So you can guess it's an output stream object. When you need to create output, you can use this object. You grab it, it is an output stream object. Out, yeah, because, for example, you can use this out call println. How about that? To print messages out. Otherwise, how do you print out a regular message? Right? You need to do a lot of preparation here to save your preparation time. Grab that out object, call println. Okay, yeah. Application, app, this episode refers to the whole application, whole web application. Yeah. All the resources you have is stored, stays in this whole application. That, context. We can call that, context. Yeah, but you can store your data. If you store data in application scope, here we call, here. Remember, I introduced the scope concept last time, but that scope, the meaning is different, class scope and method scope. Here, there is another level scope, all right? Yeah, request, session, page, application. These four things form another group of scope meaning. Yeah. Scope, four meanings. All right, you can store data in request scope. You can store data in session scope. You can store data in page scope. You can store data in application scope. Okay, four different scope levels. Yeah, but here it's different from our previous scope meaning. Okay, yeah, but we will spend a lot of time to learn the second scope meaning. Yeah, but not today. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Here I complete part D, D.2, this implicit object concept. Yeah. Let me switch to part E, our last part of module 2. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So let me go to part E. Okay. Yeah. All right. So here you see more JSP elements. Yeah. Because we have a few more. Yeah. Even that, I cannot complete this topic, but I will I will not drag this module 2 forever. So after this part E, I have to stop. Okay. Then this weekend we should get our second quiz for module 2. Okay. Yeah. On our usual pace. Yeah. And the remaining JSP elements I can spread in our later lectures. Okay. All right. The topic, D.1, understand translated JSP code. Yeah. Translated. Yeah. So here we like to learn a little more because a lot of concepts rely on this process, translation process. Yeah. All right. Getting to the translated JSP code, we want to know what happens behind the scene when a JSP is translated into a servlet. Yeah. All right. A new method generated. Where the translation happens, there is a special new method generated inside the generated servlet code. What's that? Underscore JSP service. You can see when you see this underscore, you know, it is a special internal method, right? Yeah, underscore JSP service method. Yeah. This special method is created. Yeah. This method has its special properties. Yeah. So we need to learn a little bit. Here, let me bring up that two scope concept we learned last time. Class scope and a method scope. You know the meaning of the class scope, right? The whole generated servlet class, that's the class scope, right? But what is the meaning, exact meaning of the method scope? Last time, I didn't give you the clear explanation last time. Last time, I just said, use the, global variable, local variable, use that kind of, relationship. But actually, I need to give you the specific method. Method scope, what is that method we are talking about here, right? We need to talk about some method, right? Yeah, here, you see the one, here, this method, all right? This underscore JSP service, the method scope refers to this particular method, okay? Yeah, all right, so let's look at its properties. The translated servlet from a JSP still has the old service method. Yeah, we know each servlet should have that service method. Okay, yeah. So JSP does not change that. Okay, here, look at this new method underscore JSP service method. It is not used to replace that old service method. Okay, it's not. Yeah, it is a new method that can be used inside that old service method. That kind of relationship. One is inside another one. Okay? That kind of relationship. Yeah. All right, so here, next property, I put a parenthesis. That means something special here. The JSP specific code is copied into the underscore JSP service method when it is translated. All right, when it is translated. Here we're talking about the translation time. Okay, yeah. But why I put a parenthesis around this property, the reason is, what do you mean JSP specific code, right? Its meaning is quite vague. We know it is related to the JSP, but not all JSP related code is copied into that method. So that's the meaning. That's the reason I say here the JSP specific code, its exact meaning is very vague here. Yeah. So later we will learn what objects we can use inside that underscore JSP service method. What objects still JSP related we cannot use inside that method. No. So that's why, so we need to pay attention. Not everything, not all JSP related objects will be available inside this method. Okay, yeah. Next property, scriptlets are copied to the body of the underscore. Yeah, here we try to be more specific, right? Yeah, because the number two, too vague. We want to get it more specific. Which part can be copied? Which part cannot be? Here, the first type. Scriptlets are copied to the body of this method. Okay, yeah. All right. Yeah, because here, although nobody asked me this question, but I just guess some of you may ask the question, why we need to learn this invisible method, underscore JSP service method, right? It's invisible. We never touch it. The reason is, if we learn the details related to this method, we can understand a lot of behaviors. Still, in your debugging, you will see a lot of strange behaviors. If you do not have this knowledge, it's very hard to figure out. All right? That's the reason we spend so much time. We learn what happens under the scene, mainly for your debugging. At your debugging time, you need it. You need that knowledge. Okay? Yeah. All right. Scriptlets will be copied. When scripts copied into this method, you will see there is a scope related question. The scriptlets takes method scope, not class scope. All right? The scriptlets cannot use object outside this method, right? Yeah, because the scope is different. Yeah. All right, so that's direct consequence. Next property, the underscore JSP service method is called from the services service method. Yeah. One outside, one inside. All right. The service, the usual serverless service method outside of that. Then JSP, so this is inside that method, inside. All right. Yeah. So for the execution, you execute that outside service method first. Then you get into that method, execute, line by line instructions. And at some point, you need to execute that underscore JSP service method. That kind of relationship. All right. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Next property. Add. Not add. Yeah. When I do editing, yeah, this is completely related to when I do editing, just for some technical reason, yeah, I forgot to delete that word. Yeah. All right. The sentence is, the container passes the request and the response implicit objects to this method, to this JSP underscore service method. Yeah. Here, this sentence, we only see two implicit objects, request response. Okay. Then you may ask question, how about other implicit objects, right? Do we have the same property, right? So how about other implicit objects? All right? Yeah. The answer is same thing, same property. Other implicit objects will also be copied into this special method by the container automatically. Okay? Yeah. And we will see in our later slides, I will talk about all implicit objects will be copied into this method. Okay? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Then we get to our next topic, E.2, JSP declarations. Another JSP element. It's called JSP declarations. Yeah. Let's take a look. Yeah. JSP declarations are for declaring members of the generated servlet class. Declaring members. Yeah. For a usual Java class, you need a lot of declarations, right? Yeah. That's the same thing here. Yeah. In JSP, because it is a servlet class. If you need it, you can declare members here, the members. Yeah. when we talk about members, we refer to variables and methods. So we can declare variables and methods in a JSP file. But if you want to do it, you need to use this special element called a JSP declaration element. The symbol, for the usual arrow bracket % tags, here we use the special exclamation sign after the first % sign. Okay? Yeah. So here you can see so many different symbols after the first % sign. Equal sign, @ sign, exclamation sign, and what else? Okay, yeah. So another one here, JSP declarations. They are added to the servlet class outside the service. Yeah, here you can see outside the service method. Okay, that's the location. Outside the service method, definitely outside that underscore JSP service method, right? Underscore JSP service method is inside the service method. Okay, yeah. But your declaration members, or they stay all outside the service method. That means they are not available. That's not right. They are not that available. Because outside, they stay in the class scope. They stay in the class scope. Okay, yeah. Yeah, we will see that property. Yeah. Class scope, the scope of the JSP service class. So the JSP declaration, yeah, those variables, methods declared using this special symbol, they stay in the JSP class scope. Okay, so yeah, all right. What you can do in this JSP elements, define instance variables, methods, or classes. Yeah, that's here, this item, we see the capability of this JSP element, capability, yeah. But in the real world situation, it is rarely used. Yeah. It is capable. So if you really need to use this part, you can use. But I have never used that. Okay, yeah. I have never used, this way, declare instant variables, methods, classes. Okay, yeah. Why, as most Java programmers never need to use these things. Yeah. Here I can explain a little bit. Yeah, why? Yeah. Although that capability is there, but people try to avoid that. Yeah. Only if you really feel necessary. Right? Yeah. The reason is, first, think about why people need to use them. Instance variables, methods, or classes. Yeah. The basic reason for data processing, for the power of processing, right? Only when you need to process some relatively complex data, then you need to, declare some more advanced data structure. Yeah. But there is another way we can do that. We don't need this way. Another more convenient way, Java Bean way. All right. If you need to do data processing, we define a regular Java object. We use it as Java Bean. We just create and call that Java Bean. We can do all kinds of data processing. Why we need this? All right. Yeah. So that's probably, I guess, the main reason most Java programs, they don't need to use this part. They just use Java Beans. Java Bean is so convenient to use. Okay. Yeah. In module 3, we were in Java Beans. Yeah. So popular. Okay, yeah. All right. Declare static variables and static methods. Yeah. Yeah. Static. Yeah. The meaning, yeah. All instances share the same static variables and methods, right? Yeah. So here I do not, go too far for the static variable, static method, unless we need to use it directly. Okay. Otherwise, I do not spend time explaining static variables, static methods. Yeah. All right. Code within a declaration is copied at the translation time. Okay. So a lot of things, some data preparation may not be available at the translation time. Okay. Yeah. So because when you declare members, you may need methods, you may need to use some special data. Think about that. If you need to use special data, you need to think about at the translation time if the data is available or not. Yeah. But fortunately, we rarely use that declaration, yeah. And we almost never use declaration, so you do not need to worry about that. All right. Yeah. We may have some small situation we use, but not very significant. Yeah, very little. But it is capable to do those things. Yeah, we just avoid that. Yeah. All right. Next topic, E.3, class scope and method scope. This time, let us learn more about this scope concept, because that's critical. Yeah, that's very important. Yeah. We need to learn what objects stay in the class scope, what JSP objects stay in the method scope. All right. The scope of the JSP translated servlet class, that's the class scope. Okay, yeah. A member in the class scope can also be accessed in the method scope. Yeah. So that's the global scope, right? Yeah. So when you go to the method, that method, so what is the method? Remember, we talk about underscore JSP, lowercase JSP service. That method, okay? We refer to this specific method, not arbitrary method, all right? Not arbitrary method, that specific method. Declarations have the class scope. Okay, yeah. Now let us talk about this underscore JSP service method, this scope, method scope. Okay, yeah. A member in the method scope cannot be accessed outside the underscore JSP service method. Out of scope. Yeah. So that's the meaning of scope. Okay? You can only use it within the scope. All right. Yeah. Now, those implicit variables have the method scope. Look at this name. Implicit variables. In previous few slides, I talk about implicit objects, but here you see implicit variables. Implicit object. Are they correlated? So here, they are exactly the same thing. Implicit object is the old name. Yeah. Implicit variable, relatively new name. Yeah, relatively new. Yeah. But some people use implicit variables, some people use implicit objects. Yeah. But the new name, implicit variables, can you connect to Java objects? I hope you do not get confused with the, confused with the variables of the primitive data type, right? Usually people, when they talk about variables, they think about variables in primitive data types, but here it's not. Here, all these variables are the object type, are of the object type. So that's the reason, usually in order to avoid confusion, I still like to talk about implicit objects. Because when you talk about implicit object, nobody will get confused. So they know, talking about those special, JSP objects. All right, just let you know, when you read the technical articles, technology articles, when you see implicit variables, you should connect to implicit objects directly. Okay, all right. Have the method scope. Yeah, all implicit objects stay inside the method scope. Yeah. This probably tells us they are created at the beginning of the underscore JSP service method. Beginning, yeah. Okay. So, the implicit objects can be used for the remaining part of this method. Yeah. What's the remaining part? Remember, if you recall scriptlets, we know scriptlets are copied into this method. Yeah. Then automatically the scriptlets can use all implicit objects, right? Yeah. Because these objects are created at the beginning of the scriptlets work. The scriptlets work after the beginning part, right? Think about it. So that's the reason the scriptlets can use all implicit objects automatically. Okay. Yeah. All right. Next, using JSP expressions. Yeah. JSP expressions. Yeah. We use, and it is a method scope. In this method scope. Here we try to elaborate. Here we try to be more specific. Okay, yeah. Here we address that previous JSP specific code. Yeah, so we provide detailed meaning of that part. Yeah. So method scope. Yeah. And JSP expressions get copied into this underscore JSP service method. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So with this background, later, so when we use all these different JSP elements, although it's not easy, we need to build up our experience. But with this background, so we can, hopefully, we can build solid experience related to JSP programming. Okay. All right. Yeah. Next. Yeah. E.4 topic. Yeah. Our last topic of today, E.4, using implicit objects. Yeah. Here you can see we spend a lot of time talking about the implicit objects. Yeah. How to use, when and where to use implicit objects. Yeah. Let's learn in this part. Yeah. All right. Where can we use implicit objects? Not anywhere in a JSP. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Inside the underscore. Yeah. So the answer, the general high-level answer is this. Inside the underscore JSP, service method. Yeah. That's the top level answer. Why I say top level? Because we need to get more details. Here, top level, not much detail here. Okay, yeah. So we need to get more information. The container creates the implicit objects and it passes them into this method. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. Then this kind of detail we need to learn. Okay. This kind of detail. You can use them in these things, the first part, but you cannot use in other parts. All right. So you can use them in this part. So where you can use JSP scriptlets, then no problem. Yeah, just go ahead, use implicit objects in all JSP scriptlets. Yeah. JSP expressions. Yeah, so don't worry, just use. Remember in our response.jsp in the Duke example, we use that request implicit object in JSP expression, in that JSP expression. All right, yeah, so no problem. Yeah. But you cannot use them in these places. JSP directives. Remember, we learned 3 types JSP directives before. Page directive, include directive, taglib directive, right? Yeah, 3 types directive. But here, you cannot use there, all right? Don't use implicit objects in that place, right? All right. And the JSP declarations, you cannot. Out of scope, right? That's out of scope. These things, directives, because directive we know it is processed at the translation time, right? Yeah. Both these things processed at the translation time. Yeah. And they're outside the underscore JSP method scope, out of the scope. So you cannot use implicit objects in these 2 places. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. So that is these topics I'd like to talk about today. Okay. Yeah. All right. Then I have some time, 10-something minutes. Yeah. I like to talk about the Duke example. I have explained several places. Yeah, most already. I tried all the related concepts. I pretty much explained all of them. Yeah. But here I like to go back to explain the original code. Right? The Duke one. Yeah. Let us look at the original code. I have a few places I need to explain so that you can understand that code completely. Okay? Yeah. That code completely. Yeah. All right. Before I move there, there is one concept I want to explain right here. So when I move there, so you can understand a little better. So what's that concept I want to explain here? That's related to HTTP methods. HTTP methods. Here I'm talking about HTTP methods. Yeah. Here I only compare 2, get method and post method. All right, these 2 methods. Yeah. All right. Here I want to talk about one property. One property. That is, the get method is the default. HTTP method. Is the default. Yeah, this one. Yeah, all the other methods non-default. Here you know the meaning. Default, that means if we do not specify HTTP method, then get method is used. Okay. For other non-default methods, you have to specify explicitly. All right. Yeah. So that's the obvious meaning. Yeah. All right. So after I give you this property here, get is the default HTTP method, post is not. Then when we move to that Duke example, then you can understand better. Okay. All right. So let me move to that Duke example. Here. Yeah. Duke example, there are two files. The first is the index.jsp. The second is the response.jsp. But second one, just one line. We already studied that line a lot. Okay. So we do not need to look at again. Let us only look at the index.jsp. Okay. All right. Let me switch to the source code. Okay. Yeah. Pretty short. Yeah. So one screen will pretty much cover everything. All right. Yeah. All right. So let me go through from beginning to end. Yeah. The first two lines, line number one, line number two, you can see we use the page directive. Yeah. So we have that example, page directive. What is the first one? The first page directive, content type. Content type attribute. So what's that? Yeah. So we know when we use the page directive, we want to tell the compiler some special information. Yeah. Here, what information we like to tell the compiler? We tell the compiler, all right, the content type equals that double quotes text slash HTML. That's the content type format. All right. Content type. I talk about content type when I talk about HTTP response object, not request, response, content type. When you return the response as a document, do you need to specify the content, the document type? Yeah. It's a, default type. Yeah, this text HTML should be the default type. But there are other non-default types, right? PDF, the image, several image format types, many other different types you can specify. So here, the content type, this one specify this text slash HTML. Because it is default one, that means if you remove this line, you get the same thing. This one just to make that default one visible for you, all right? Make the default line visible. Yeah, okay, just let you know. The reason is because in other JSP, usually you won't see this line, okay? Many other JSP, you do not need to specify that because default. That's the default one, all right? Yeah. Not necessary to specify. All right. The second, yeah. Then you tell the container in page encoding UTF-8. Yeah. That's also the default way we do the encoding. Okay. We do when you transmit data between client and server, we use that encoding method. All right. That's also default. Okay. You do not have to specify. Yeah. But here, give you the sense when you need to tell container to do something special. That's the two examples. Yeah. You can tell. All right. Yep. That's the first two lines. Then, next a few lines for the HTML part. That's relatively easy. Yeah. So you should understand that the HTML code. But here, I may like to focus on the form. You see, starting from line 12, form method equals double quotes get, the end of the form, line 17. Yeah. Look at these lines between 12 and 17. These lines. That's a HTML form. All right. In this one, we need to send data to the server through this HTML form. Okay? And we want to use the method get method. Here we specify the get method. Okay? Yeah. As I talk about this default method before, if we remove that method equals double quotes get, we get the same thing because it's default. Okay? Yeah. But if you want to send using the quote method, you have to put a post name there. Okay? Uppercase, lowercase. Now, sometimes people use uppercase, lowercase. It doesn't matter. Same thing. Not case sensitive here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's the method. Yeah. Then another thing I like to point it out. Yeah. Because we have a few minutes. Point it out is when you use the get method to send the data, here we use the get method to send data. Okay, so what data? Username data, right? Yeah, we use username data. So when you send the data, the username data, it is visible in the URL bar. Okay, when you click submit, you look at the URL, you will see the username appears in the URL bar. Yeah. That is the nature of the get method. Whenever you use the get method, all the data you send would appear in the URL bar. Okay? Yeah. Then think about, do you want to use get method to send sensitive information? Right? You know, people credential, yeah, right? Like credit card number, like social security number, you know, right? That kind of highly sensitive data. Now you understand. Use post method. Do not use get method. Get, it appears in the URL bar. After you leave the computer, other people just click that URL bar, they can view it. Okay? Yeah, not secure. Yeah. So that is, one important thing. Yeah, you need to understand. Yeah. All right. Another thing. Yeah. Here, look at this form again. We specify the method, but we didn't specify action. Action. For form tag, there is an action attribute. From the name of this attribute, action, people need to submit this request to a back-end server-side data processing file, right? Otherwise, which file is called, which resource is called at the server side to do data processing on this form. This form, you need to get some data processing resource to do the work, to do the data processing work. Which one? Here, we do not specify it. Yeah. So let me tell you that. If you do not specify the data processing resource, here, yeah, I use the resource here, because it could be a file, could be, a servlet. All right, yeah. All right. If you do not specify, that means the current file is called. All right. The default action default action file is the current file. Okay, you do not specify. Then the server just use your own file to do the process. All right, your own file, because you do not specify. I cannot find, there is no reason I can find other places to get a data processing file. No, I cannot just grab arbitrary one. If I cannot, then I just use your own file to do the data process. All right, yeah, so that's the rule, because that means this file, when you click the submit button, it calls itself to do the data process. Itself is index.jsp. The index.jsp is called to do the data process. Okay, all right. So now you can understand at the processing part, this file, look at the scriptlet starting from line 19. That's the scriptlet, right? Yeah. Line 23 is, page directive, include type directive. Other than that, starting from line 19 and end at the line 26, excluding line 23, that's the script, that's the data processing code. Okay, yeah. So the server side, this index.jsp is called to do data processing, and the data processing code, that is the block, the scriptlet from line 19 through line 26. How about that? How about that? All right, yeah. So now the data processing, all right? How do the data processing? String, yeah, we try to retrieve data from request scope. Look at the implicit object request scope. We just use it, retrieve data. How to retrieve a parameter dot get parameter method. And the parameter name, username. Yeah. Because we send data under username. Okay? So the name is created, is retrieved. Okay? So that name variable stores the name sent by the user. Okay. All right. After that, we know string is an object, right? String is an object. The object, we need to, before we use it, we need to check if it is a null object or not, right? Because if it's a null object, then you may get a runtime error exception. If you try to access a null object, you will get a runtime error. Null pointer, right? Yeah, it's nothing. Yeah, you cannot access it, null object. So you have to check it. If name is not equal to null, then you can execute the remaining code. Because the remaining code, you need to display name value, right? You don't want to display null, right? Yeah, yeah. All right, so then display the name. Hello, that the string that the user enters. That's what we see, right? Yep. Okay. Yeah. So although this code pretty short, but after I go through, explain all the details, now I think also try to get the knowledge we learn, right? The knowledge, implicit object, we use page include directive, right? Here we use include directive, we include that, okay? Also, HTTP parameters, the way we send HTTP parameters, okay? All these things you put together, you can understand this example well. All right, yeah, okay, yeah. All right, so that's the end of our module number 2, and we do a quiz, start a quiz this week, yeah, probably Friday, yeah. So, probably Friday. Yeah, I try to post it sometime Friday, yeah. So you can start to work. Still, the deadline Sunday, midnight Sunday next week. Okay, yeah, one more week. Yeah, 2 days plus a week. All right, 2 days plus a week at least. All right, and the next module 3, I will prepare you for your first programming project, because we need to start our first programming project. So here, I only have 1 minute. I just quickly let you know the way I prepare you in class. I may spend some time to run some examples. I try to control, 10 something minutes, not too long, because we need to cover a lot of other technologies, not too long. So then, if I need to do more explanation, I use videos to explain. Okay, in class, I do not explain my example. I just run my example and show you, what's going on in this example. The code explanation, I use out-of-class videos to explain, to save our precious class time. All right, yep. Okay, that's it. Let us stop here. At 5:15. So that's the end of the class.